Sounds good. Well, hello there. This is Kathy of kathysright.com, and welcome back. If this is your first time, please do me the favor of pushing that subscribe button. That way you will get every new show that comes on, whether it's video or podcast. Also, I am starting a page on Patreon, and that will have a lot of extras. I'm going to do everything on Patreon. It will be videos and podcasts and my writing and my poetry. Also my paintings. I became an artist years ago, and I think I was always an artist. You're born an artist. And this is how we roll. So, subscribe today. Reading the papers this morning, I mean, not the literal papers, but online I read the papers. I'm feeling a little bit ashamed, because I'm thinking, I know so many people who are good teachers. I know some good people who are good teachers, relatives. I come from a long line of teachers in my family and nurses. And reading about the teachers' unions right now is enough to make me want to scream. Okay, we already have the schools that are shut down. They shut down early this year because of the pandemic. Americans didn't like it, but somehow we muddled through. Now the teachers' union, I'm not talking about the teachers' union in many states are against reopening our public schools. They claim that it is for the safety and the health and well-being of the teachers and the students, like they care so very much. The districts are still paying the teachers while struggling families were forced to teach their own children through the online learning, which none of these families were used to. If you hadn't been a homeschooler before, all of a sudden you're thrown into this during a pandemic, very stressful time for everyone. It's kind of unfair to expect the parents to really know what to do. I mean, those homeschoolers, I homeschooled off and on when my kids were young, but the homeschoolers have it down to a system. They know what they're doing. They have their curriculum. They have a schedule. They know the process. But those of us who aren't a part of the homeschooling groups, we really didn't know what to do. And I have some compassion for the mothers and fathers out there, because I find that, we counted on the schools. We depended on the schools. We put our trust in the schools. We put our trust. And now, looking back, I wonder if I trusted maybe way too much. And I think a lot of parents are looking back. I think I would have homeschooled more than I did. I think my kids would have had a better outcome. I mean, they're doing all right, but I just think they would be probably better educated had I homeschooled. But then that's just me, because I am educated myself. I mean, there are a lot of parents who aren't educated, who are homeschooling, and they're doing great jobs. I mean, they have curriculums you can buy, and they kind of walk you through it. And if you have difficulties, there's other groups that you can homeschool and kind of cooperate with, kind of a co-op situation, whereas one parent might be strong in math and they'll teach a group of parents' kids how to do math. And another parent might be strong in foreign languages, and they would teach foreign languages to the group that you're co-opting with. And it's just a whole wonderful thing. But if you have been accustomed to a two-income family, and all of a sudden you're thrust into a single income, and in some cases in the United States right this moment, no income, and you're teaching your children for the first time, I think that's quite a quandary for anybody to be in. And it's kind of a sad situation for the kids, because they're missing their friends. I had 4 children. I grew up in a family with 5 children, but I have to think about my poor grandson who has no siblings. And so for him, it was devastating not to have other children to play with all day, nobody to bounce ideas off of, to wrestle with, to, play ball with, or just even have a conversation or watch a cartoon together. But when he got to go to school, all of that was changed, and he got to make friends and laugh and play and run and do sing-alongs and learn in school. So for him, it was really vital to have that public school. And that has been taken away from him. But Not only that was bad enough, but now the families that are out there doing this have had to adjust in ways they didn't expect. Like, for instance, let's say you only have one computer and you have 5 kids and all 5 of them have classes on that computer. That is a dilemma. That is a problem for most families. And most students are falling behind. It's been proven that small children are the least at risk. The Chinese virus. The threat of infection only slightly increased in young teens, so the families in America are being shortchanged. Their tax dollars continue to pour into empty schools with empty classrooms. And there's no physical interaction with professional teachers. Do you believe that the powerful teachers union is really concerned about our children, or are they a part of a bigger plan and a bigger problem? This is going to cause problems down the road. It may cause the breakdown of the family even further. Imagine, if you will, if you are a 2-income family accustomed to having 2 incomes that pay the bills for the house, the cars, the credit cards for clothing, the supplies, the food, and all of a sudden you're breaking down to 1 income and you're not accustomed to it. Not only that, you didn't plan on it. It's not something that was a part of how you married, maybe. That can cause a lot of resentment, anger, anxiety, and I think it might end in some families' divorce, because this is not expected, and not every marriage is strong enough to withstand this kind of dilemma at this point in time in their lives. I wouldn't divorce over something like that, but there are those who their marriages might have been hanging by a string already, and now they have this to deal with. But do you think that the schools, the teachers union, care about the families and the breakdown of the family and the middle class? Because the middle class, I kid you not, the middle class is under attack. Not just by the teachers union. The middle class is under attack from the left. They want us to disappear. In their utopia, everybody has the same amount of poverty, except for the elite. And that's why they think they can go into a building and take everybody else's things, because nobody should have more than the other person. That's communism. That's Marxism. That's how they roll, ladies and gentlemen. Is that the country that you want for your children? In North Carolina, teachers' unions are calling for an implementation of universal health care. I'm talking, these are conditions that they want before they'll open their school. These are conditions. Universal health care and welfare benefits for illegal immigrants in order to reopen. That's what they're asking for. Just days after DAE, Durham Association of Educators, issued a statement railing against the school district's reopening plan. Durham Public Schools voted unanimously to hold all classes virtually for at least the first 9 weeks of the school year. Included in their statement was to adopt far-left policy goals before holding an in-person class, including Medicare for all, like I said, direct income support regardless of immigration status. That's just in North Carolina. Then we have in LA, Los Angeles Teachers Union, in San Diego also, where my kids went to school. They issued a research paper arguing that schools in the district can't reopen without certain policy provisions in place, ranging from mandatory face masks to a moratorium on charter schools, meaning hold off on any charter schools. We don't want money going there. Oh, and also the defunding of police. Now, what the heck does that have anything to do with your child's education? Except for they might be less than safe going to school. So those things have nothing to do with education, but these are the things they're holding over the heads of parents who are desperate to get their kids back into school so that the parents can go back to work. These demands add an additional $116 billion in federal education funding from the states. So what is the motivation making these demands before reopening the schools? Political, of course. Of course it's political, because the people who are up against this are the Republicans. I'm one of them. This is crazy. So you're holding us hostage with your non-political demands, which are political. The teachers' unions are holding the middle-class family hostage. They're making demands like a kidnapper. They know that the parents are going crazy at home with these kids, and they don't care. But this is their opportunity to get some things on their wish list. So that's the Democratic Party for you. I feel sorry for my conservative friends who happen to be teachers, and there are quite a few. And in some states where you don't have a right to work, I'm in Texas, you have a right to work state, so you're not required to be in a union, but in some states like California, you're almost required to be in the union if you want to get paid. And I don't know how it is now. It's been years since I've been there, but that's how it used to work. And my father, when I was growing up, explained to me about the right to work states and the differences that there were. And I agree with the right to work. I think you shouldn't have to be in a union in order to work. But that goes across all fields, every kind of profession, every kind of trade. It goes across all fields. I mean, Hollywood's got it bad. If you go to LA or an actor or a writer, you can't get a job unless you join SAG or you join whatever union they require for you to work. In order to work, you have to be a part of the union. That sounds to me very coerced and very, well, it's just not fair. Suppose you don't believe everything that the union espouses. Suppose you don't. You still have to pay. You still have to pay your fee. That's what they mean. They don't want you to have the right to work. They want you to have a right to do what they want you to do, regardless. Homeschoolers are going to be pretty much immune to what's happening. Homeschoolers have already got it down to a science. They know exactly what they're doing. They have a curriculum. They have a schedule. Their kids are used to it. But people who were thrust into this just recently, I mean, if you look back, going back to March or April, those people are having a rough time of it, and they are being held hostage, their families. And so I guess they want these demands met by who? I don't know, the government, us? They want to get their way. But no, we're not going to just acquiesce to a union. But people didn't realize how powerful the teachers' unions are. They're very powerful. They lobby just like all the bigwigs do. They have their own lobbyists and they have their own agenda, and none of that agenda has a damn thing to do with your child getting educated. But just as the Democrats have always said, never let a good crisis go to waste. So why don't we take an example out of that? Why don't we give them what they give us? Let's make some demands of our own. Let's demand school choice. Let's demand alternative schools. Let's demand more charter schools. Let's demand vouchers so no matter where you live, you get school choice. And just because you're growing up in one of those foul neighborhoods like we're seeing on TV that's shooting the place up, you shouldn't be, that shouldn't be your lot in life forever. This should be an opportunity for us to lift up all the children in this country using the voucher system. There's all sorts of ways. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Children learn in such different ways. Some learn visually, some learn mechanically. Some have legitimate ADHD or whatnot. But they all learn differently. So the cookie-cutter way of teaching is not a good fit for this country anymore. It's not a good fit. It won't work anymore. You wonder why those kids are thinking they have no morals. They don't say the pledge. They're burning the flag. They're doing all sorts of crazy, nutty things. Ungrateful people, kids, ungrateful kids burning our flag. They never went through anything. They're talking about oppression. They haven't gone through squat. They didn't sat in the back of a bus. They didn't have to drink out of faucets that were colored and white only and that kind of thing. They never went through anything. The only problem these kids have ever had is if they couldn't afford some Nikes. They've got government subsistence on everything, all sorts of government programs. The way that these things are set up, the women who are giving birth to these people, God bless them for not killing them. I'll be back after this message. The women who are having these children without fathers there to help them, and the fathers, gosh, they can't be held responsible. Of course they can't keep their pants on. There is something called self-control. And I'm tired of people behaving like animals and expecting the rest of us to pay for it. So the single parent family, they will have the hardest time of it all because they don't have help. And they don't have, they do have help, but they don't have the means to get things done, to get that extra computer, to get those things done in school. And while we're all being held hostage, we're further dividing ourselves, the haves and the have-nots. Who are the haves and who are the have-nots? Well, the haves are the ones on television telling you to wash your hands, stay home, wear a mask. Those are the haves. The have-nots are the ones who are, struggling to pay their bills, even though they had a job before all of this happened, but they're probably out of a job now. I don't know what kind of insurance they have for that. I don't know how it works. I talked to a couple people who were actually making more money from the government and these fixes that the government has put out than they made at their jobs. I bet you they just can't wait to go back to work. Not. Because we're creating another welfare generation. And that can be totally generational. The lessons that they learn of how to work the system, how to scam the system, how to get over on the system, they pass those little things along. Meanwhile, our country becomes lesser and lesser of the people we once were. So I fail to understand how any of those demands is going to improve the lives of our children. All I know is our children deserve better than what they're getting. They deserve better than what the teachers union is offering. Defunding the police, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. That just proves they're in league with the Marxist and the communist. Really. And do we really want those particular ones to be teaching our kids? No, they don't teach anymore. They just probably get, their 6 figures or more for implementing this retarded stuff. Oh, I forgot. We're not allowed to say that word anymore either, are we? We can't say anything anymore. You can't say retarded. You can't even say Oriental anymore. My daughter told me I can't say Oriental. She goes, no, Mom, Oriental now refers to rugs, not people. I mean, I was raised saying Oriental. Now we say Asian. Political correctness and all. So I asked my friend, I have a good friend, she's old school Japanese lady, and I asked her, I said, is this really a problem? And she looked at me, and she's older than I am, and she's very, very sweet, wise old lady, and she also golfs really well for a small person. She said, Kathy, nobody cares. I said, really? She goes, nobody cares. Nobody cares. We really don't care. I said, oh, well, thank you. Because my daughter told me I can't say that anymore. And I'm listening to my daughter because I don't want to be all uncool and everything. Well, you know what? I like being uncool. I invented my own kind of cool. My own kind of cool is Kathy Cool. Kathy's right. Kathy's world. You know what? I suggest everybody do that. Have a Kathy's, whatever your name is. Make it your thing. Like, when I'm trying to get ready to go somewhere and I have some challenges ahead of me, I go, I got to get my Kathy on. I got to get my Kathy on. So whatever your name is, Fred or Jeanette, I got to get my Fred on or my Jeanette on or whatever. But you got to have that about yourself or this world will crush you. You got to. It's a matter of survival, really. So when I read about the left and their newfangled ideas, I just want to go, oh, come on. The ideas floating around on the left are tantamount to academic suicide for our country. Some are pushing for 2 days a week of in-person, 2 days at a brick and mortar school. Some they want all online schools or just a little bit of online schools. But it doesn't have to be all or nothing in our choices. If given a choice, or we need to take our choices. That's what we need to do. We need to take our choices. I mean, not everybody's home is set up for homeschooling. And some parents are simply not qualified to teach. I'm not saying they're dumb. I'm just saying teaching and knowing are two different things. Like those who can do and those who can't teach. Some people can't teach. I mean, I've seen it. I've gone to classes, even when I was years ago back in college, I've gone to classes that the teacher, one, I couldn't understand what he was saying. And I love languages, so that's not the issue. It's just that they would talk, and you didn't understand a word they said. I even tried recording it. I couldn't understand the recording, and I had friends try to take notes. Not everybody's meant to teach. I think it takes a certain amount of know-how. And that's why I think we have professional teachers. But I think they should be appreciated in a way that they're not being appreciated now. And the teachers union have really desperately conned the teachers into believing that they really need the teachers union to make sure they keep getting paid. And what they don't realize is that the teachers union, they're scamming everybody. The teachers unions are, generally speaking. You might have a good teachers union where you are, but generally speaking, they are scamming everybody. When I was living in San Diego, I first had my first two kids. I was always pregnant, it seems like. My first two kids I had in Catholic school. And, you have to pay extra money and do some volunteer work so that you could cut down on the cost of that. And then, as nature would have it, my husband got me pregnant again, and it got to be where my house was too small. And the only way we could afford a bigger house was to move further out away from the city, so we'd have room for our children, which was, a nice move, we thought. And we moved out onto the outskirts of San Diego, a beautiful place. And we put my daughters who had been in Catholic school, into public school. And it was a brand new school, nice, shiny new school, nice teachers and everything. And they were great. Except for what really saddened me and shocked me was that by the time your kids in Catholic school, and this is true for most parochial schools, by the time they finish kindergarten, 100% of the kids are reading. Sight reading, not just sounding it out, reading. 100% in the Catholic school, and also other Jewish schools. A friend of mine works at a Jewish school as well. She taught kindergarten. And I asked her about that. She goes, well, they just have higher standards at the private schools. So it's not that the kids are any smarter. It's just that they expect more of them, and that they expect more of the teachers as well. So I asked her, wow, why would you drive 40 to 50 miles? That's how far the school she worked at. She was a kindergarten teacher at a private Jewish school. I said, why would you drive 40 or 50 miles every day, to teach at that school? And she wasn't Jewish. In fact, she was a Chinese American. Very, very pretty, very nice. And she said, and she goes, well, I'm not Jewish. She goes, she's Baptist. She goes, but they pay me twice what they pay San Diego schools teachers. Twice. She was making about the same money as our school principal, I'm assuming, was making, which is quite substantial, a big difference. And it was worth it to her to drive 40 to 50 miles to and from the school she taught at. So when it comes to the private schools, the teachers are competed for. The schools are competing for the best teachers. And they compete by way of pay. This school offers this much money for the good schools, for the good teaching, and this school is offering that much money, and they compete. And so all in all, the teachers make actually more money. And if we offered competition to our public school system as it is, it would be competitive to the point that we would have the highest quality teachers verbatim, completely. We would have the top-notch teachers teaching, because all the schools would be competing for the best teachers, and they would be competing for students. Competition breeds excellence. But that's something that the teachers union, they're terrified of it. They don't want the competition because then they don't have to raise their standards. They just want to keep the money. They want to keep raising the money, but they don't want to change their standards at all. In fact, the standards have come way down. By the time kids graduate high school, they should at least be able to tell time on a regular clock or write in cursive. But they don't do that anymore. It's not even required. They can't even. I'm standing in line at the bank, which is unusual. I'm standing in line at the bank, and I had one of my bracelet-looking watches on. Now, that watch hasn't worked for months, but the bracelet is really nice, and it went with my outfit. So the girl in front of me thought that I knew what time it was. And she goes, "What time is it?" Oh, I said, "Oh, this doesn't work. It's just I wear it because it matches my outfit." And I pointed to the clock on the wall. Now, this is one of those regular clocks with the two hands on it, and so I think it was close to 4:00 or something like that. Anyways, she looked at me and shrugged her shoulders as if to say, "I don't know what that means." I said, "The clock." I said, "You just go 5, 10, 15. She goes, I never learned that. I go, "Oh." I said, "What school did you graduate from?" And she told me the name of her school. And I was thinking, my God, that's public education today? I bet you she could run circles around me on a computer, though. But that's sad. That's a basic skill to tell time. That's something you learn in first, second grade, maybe kindergarten. So I'm thinking we are shortchanging our children by not offering them choices. Now, the Democrats want choice for everything. They want choices when it comes to life and death and killing people, babies. But they don't want us to have choices when it comes to our education of our children. I think we deserve choices. I think our children deserve choices. There are some specialty schools that would be outstanding for certain kids, but they won't have that opportunity because the teachers union is trying to forbid them from having that option. Moratorium on charter schools. That says it all right there. That says it all. Anyways, they're holding us hostage. What are we going to do about it? America. This is Kathy of Kathy'sRight.com. Please comment and let me know if you have any ideas. I have a lot of ideas. I'm going to have to write them all down because really, I like the co-op thing. I think that's wonderful. I think there's a lot of student teachers who would be really good at tutoring. I think we should bring back the governess. Remember when people used to help out in your home and they lived with you and they were also the teachers? Well, we're not rich enough for a governess, but there's so many options out there. And I think that there's not one pattern for every child. Like I think some children, specifically autistic children, they need structure like you wouldn't believe it. They need structure. And sometimes they can't get that at home. So having a regular school to go to for them with someone who is specialized in teaching autistic children, that's something that's priceless. We need to have options like that for children and put them first. Put them first for once, not last. Not like the Democrats. They don't mind killing them. They don't mind them getting trafficked. But I think as Americans, pray for our children, pray for our country, put our children first. Okay, after God, then the children. Well, God bless you. This is Kathy of Kathy'sRight.com. I'm sorry for the rant, but I'm tired of families being held hostage by the teachers' unions. Let's do something about it. Vote for Trump 2020. God bless America. Bye.